Hello everyone, back for another doll restoration style video, and today I'm going to be showing you how to reroot a McDonald's Happy Meal Barbie. So this is one I recently got. I did restore her hair. I got her brand new in the package. But she does have a bit of a bald spot. So she will probably get rerooted at some point eventually. But not right now. Her hair is fine though. I shampooed, conditioned, and boil washed her. And her hair turned out really nice. So I'm gonna leave her be. And then this is one that I fully rerooted. She was, out of the ones that I have currently, she is the first one I got. And that is her hair. It is nylon. It's not poly or saran, it is nylon. And that is how the back looks. And this is the rooting. I did go in and add a bunch of new holes in her scalp rooting because she had a bald spot as well. So when you get these, the hair most of the time is going to wind up this thick. So yeah, you twist it, and it's about as big around as her neck is, if not a little bit thinner. So yeah, they don't come with a whole lot of hair to begin with, but this is what I did. And she is my favorite McDonald's Barbie from my childhood. I'm obsessed with her. I actually prefer her over the bigger one. I like the superstar face, and I think she came out really good. The only problem she does have is paint chipping here. Like whenever I was a kid, I like barely scraped this with my nail, and that came off, and then there's little bits back there that came off, but you could repaint that. But this is the thickness that I did. So yeah, she has tons of hair. So you might be wondering, well, how do you do this? Like, how do you go about like taking the head off? And it's fairly easy. All you have to do, the only thing holding the head on is like adhesive. And you just put the doll, you submerge the doll's head in really, really hot water. It doesn't have to be like, you can boil some water in the microwave. It doesn't have to be rapidly boiling or anything. You just stick the head in like that much to the neck. You can put the shoulders in if you want for just a few seconds, like maybe like 10 seconds, and then the head will become soft enough to where you can pop it right off. So the adhesive will loosen up, and then you'll be left with this. So yeah, that is the flange that is inside of a McDonald's Barbie that holds the head on, and they usually slather this with adhesive glue, and then they stick the head on. And so this is what I have so far. This is one that I've rerooted years ago, but her hair was, I rerooted her kind of thin. So this is what I have done with her so far. Whenever you pop the head off and you remove all the hair, it will be like a regular Barbie head. It will be hollow and squishy. And in that case, you can go in and you can actually reroot the head. Now this needle is a little bit thicker than I would prefer. You don't want to split any plugs, but because I'm going back through and doing touch-ups on her, then it should be fine. But you might want to use a needle skinnier than this. You might have to like do a loop of thread. So some people will, and that's what I've done before, is I will tie like a circle. I'll make a circle of thread, tie a knot in the end, so you'll have like a much bigger loop because smaller needles have a smaller eye. So if you do a loop of thread, it will make that much easier. But if you have a skinnier needle, it will definitely be less aggressive on the scalp. But yeah, this is some of the hair I've done so far. It's a little bit longer than I needed it. And that was the original length that I did. Years and years. I think I did this one in 2015. And I did do the lock loop method. Now usually I will take a hair plug and knot it in the middle. But if I were to knot this in the middle, that would... You get 2 plugs, but with this, I didn't have hair that was long enough, so I had to knot at the end. And all I did was put a dab of super glue after I knotted it, and then I cut the end. And that should not come undone, so. Now if I change locations here shortly, don't freak out. I think I heard a car door shut, so I think people were about to come in, so. And it usually gets pretty loud in here when that happens. Yeah, so yes, I did have to change locations because family members walked into the living room and got really loud, so. But no, anyhow, what I have done here is I have, if you can see this, so I'm actually going to put the eye of the needle barely sticking out. Yeah, and one thing I would not recommend doing is using a rerooting tool, because you can see these holes are very tiny, very close together, and you could potentially rip them. So this method is one of the best methods that I highly recommend if you're going to take on the task of doing this. So that eye is basically going to stretch the hole out. It should be stretched out anyway because I've had the needle in there for a while now. And what I've done is I've gone through a pre-existing hole that I rooted with a very thin hair plug. And so I'm just gonna pop the eye in so that it goes through the head. So it goes to the bottom, like so. Now, since I've had to do this method, knotting at the end, I do still like to do the 2-plug method. And how I do that is I get the plug as flat as I can, and I have the point, the needle point, and I kind of just go through, separate it out, try to get it as even as possible. And so now, it's like the knot in the middle method, where you have the knot in the middle, and you have 2 plugs instead of 1. So the next thing you want to do is you're going to want to trim up the ends if it's a bit messy. That will make it much easier to slide through the needle. So let's see if I can do this. And it's very beneficial to wet the plugs down. So let's see if I can get this through. Sometimes the smaller the eye of the needle, the more stubborn it can be. It's kind of wanting to go through. Or if that doesn't work, then sometimes I will fold it in half to make a loop. So I'll make a little loop. So you have your knot, you have your loop, and I'll try to make it much smaller. This doesn't really work if the hair plug is really thick. So, hold on, let me turn that off. There we go. So yeah, I will gotta wet it down again. And try to get the loop through. So in turn you can get through the hair, the one plug of hair. So there's the knot, pull it somewhere in the middle, and then you pull it through. And if you have any loops or anything, you just tease them out. And so what I'm going to do in this case, this is the last plug that I'm going to do for her, is I'm actually going to go right in this area right here. And I'm going to add a brand new hole so that the other plug can go through. So I just created a brand new hole. And so I'll do the same thing. I'll press the needle down to the midpoint of the eye so that the eye of the needle will stretch the hole out. You can leave it for like 10 to 30 seconds. But yeah, you will basically pop the needle out and then put it through the hole you just made. Sometimes you'll need to leave it longer. There we go. Pop it through. Get your hair. Wet the end. There we go. See, and then sometimes little hairs don't want to go through. There we go. But I got it. And then you just pull tight like that. And there you go. And her hair in that spot is much, much thicker now. So yeah, that is pretty much how that is done. I mean, you could use a thicker needle. Just on the hairline, I recommend using a smaller one. But once you get to the middle of the head, where the plugs are spaced farther apart and everything, then you can definitely use a thicker needle, because you won't be as likely to split any plugs, any like rooting holes open. So yeah, that is her. She of course will need another boil wash. I boil washed her recently, but I'll have to boil wash her again to get the hair to lay flat, because it's kind of sticking up like crazy. So, but yeah, and then I will show you how to put the head back on. So here's her body, and then the head, and you just push down back onto the flange, and there she is. She is as done as she's gonna get for now. And if you're wondering why her eyebrows look like that, it's because if you can see here, that's the remnants of her old eyebrow. When I was a kid, I scraped the eyebrows off because, like, one, you can kind of still see a dot in the middle of her, between her eyes right there, but her eyebrows were, like, stamped really off. And then, of course, these ones, back then I drew them on with a pen, which it never bled or faded or anything, so it stained her vinyl, but it never, like, bled outward. So it just stayed like that, like regular eyebrows. It looks a little bit like fuzzy, kind of, around the edges, but... And then, of course, if I can find a brush. But basically what you will do after is just trim off the undesirable ends. And I will scoop that up later. And there you go. So that is how that is done. And that's what the ends look like. Her hair is very long because she's Rapunzel. She's supposed to be Rapunzel. But yeah, that's the story behind the eyebrows. And then that's why her eye over here looks kind of wonky, because she was a bit wonky when I got her. She was one I got at the flea market when I was 15, and she had a haircut, a really bad haircut, and I think I paid $1/4 for her, so, which was a steal. I also customized her by adding shimmer to her. So yeah. Anyhow, that is how you reroot a McDonald's Barbie. So, and of course, if you have one with a part line or anything, it will be a little more tedious. Usually I just root one row. I don't thatch the part line. I root both rows of plugs, but I will root one thicker than the other one, and then I will just split the plugs in half and fold them down to create a part. And that's what Mattel does with their dolls nowadays. Let me see. Yeah, here we go. So this is a newer Barbie. But yeah, this is basically what I do when I do my part lines. So they just rooted one row of thick plugs, and they split them all in half and folded them to each side, and then set the hair. So that's what I do. But as for her, she doesn't have a part line. I'll probably end up braiding her hair, and this is the thickness of her hair now. She's got quite a bit. She's got a lot more hair than she had before, and it's not so thin looking up there anymore. So I hope this helped you guys out. If you do decide to take on the challenge of rerooting one of these. Thank you for watching. More videos to come, and remember to stay true to you.